The sole purpose of this video is to provide a basic overview and orientation of your new apparatus. This video is not intended to act as or replace individualized driver-operator training. Individual fire departments may base guidelines, policies, and procedures tailored for best practices. Pierce Manufacturing and Hughes Fire Equipment representatives are not liable for injuries caused from acts resulting from actions inconsistent with the information provided within this video and/or accompanying manuals. Refer to the Operation and Maintenance Manual for complete details relating to the components and features of this apparatus. Only trained personnel should operate this vehicle or perform maintenance. You are responsible for learning how to operate this fire apparatus under all conditions without having to refer to the manual while operating at an emergency incident. This video will discuss types of warnings and caution labels. It is your responsibility to locate and identify each of the labels and understand the importance and associated hazards. Warning labels will point out procedure that must be taken or action that must be avoided to guard against the possibility of serious injury or death. Caution labels will advise you that there is a risk of damage to property if certain precautions are not followed. Continuous training, reviewing of operation and service manuals, developing good standardized practices will assist driver operators with a more complete understanding of the components and operation of this fire apparatus. As the driver operator of this vehicle, you are responsible for understanding the function of each component of the apparatus, maintaining control of the fire apparatus at all times while in operation. Make operational and functional changes while operating at an emergency without having to read operator's instructions or safety warning labels. Operate manual override and emergency shutdown procedures immediately if a component fails to operate properly. Components location may vary with each Pierce fire apparatus. Review the exact location of each component prior to operation. Major inconsistencies between your vehicle and the information contained in this video should be directed to your sales representative. Safe operation of any vehicle is the responsibility of the driver operator. You must learn the location and function of all controls, switches, gauges, valves, inlets, and discharges. Due to a higher center of gravity, heavy trucks have a significantly higher rollover tendency than other types of vehicles. To reduce the risk of rollover, avoid making sharp turns, excessive speed, and avoid abrupt maneuvers. In the event of a rollover crash, an unbelted person is significantly more likely to become injured or die than a person wearing a seatbelt. In the event of a crash, unbuckled occupants can also become a hazard to other occupants, as they may be thrown around inside the cab. Seatbelts are required while in operation. Please refer to your warranty certificates for details and information enclosed in your manuals. Customer-installed equipment must be mounted to withstand road travel and comply with NFPA 1901. Modifications such as drilling holes or welding to structural frame components of the chassis are not permitted. Contact Pierce for instruction and review of non-structural sheet metal or other dissimilar metals for modification. Follow the radio installation guide for further assistance on installing or mounting electronics. Before placing your new apparatus into service, perform a primary inspection of key components of the apparatus, including all fluid levels, anti-lock braking systems, electronic stability control, and automatic traction control. Weigh your apparatus to ensure that it conforms to axle and brake ratings. Never exceed the gross axle rating printed on the label inside the cab. Exceeding these ratings could lead to reduced component life, personal injury, or death. Review the use of auxiliary braking systems, compression brake, exhaust brake, electronic retarder, and hydraulic retarder. Before placing the apparatus in service, refer to the operational maintenance manuals. Information on the operation and maintenance functions for the components such as the pump, pressure governor, and foam systems, along with other options, is provided in either the Pierce manuals and/or other manufacturer support information delivered with the apparatus. If you need more information, please contact Hughes Fire Equipment. Congratulations, Clark County, Nevada, on your new Pierce fire apparatus, job number 34783. Please utilize this 5-digit job number when referencing your apparatus with Hughes Fire Equipment and Pierce Manufacturing. We'll get started on a brief orientation of your new apparatus. Starting on the front bumper face on the passenger and driver side, you'll find your mechanical siren and PA speaker. Moving just inside of that location, you'll find dual air horns. Directly in the center, you'll find your unit identifier 30. As we move up onto the bumper extension, you'll find 3 tubbed storage locations across the very front section. You'll find in the very center a swivel discharge. Let's move to the outer edge onto the driver's side, where you'll find your mechanical siren. Moving up onto the face of the cab, you'll find on the outer edges a clearance marker light. Just inside of that location, the turn signal. Headlight structure housing low and high beam headlights. Moving directly above that, you'll find your forward-facing emergency warning lights. As we move to the grille area, directly behind the Pierce logo is where you'll find the latch to gain access into the hood area. As we move up to the seamless one-piece windshield, you'll find 3 windshield wipers across that windshield. And then as we move to the outer edges, you'll find your mirrors housing a flat and convex mirror. Moving up to the very top of the windshield area, you'll find the brow, which is containing 5 clearance lights. Directly in the center, you'll find a forward-facing floodlight. As we move up onto the roof, you'll find your emergency cluster lights. There are passenger and driver side emergency warning lights. As we move up onto the top of the area, you'll find your Opticom. And then also for aerial operations, you'll find 4 floodlights, 2 downward facing and 2 upward facing. They are adjustable in the upper portion. Let's take a look at some close-ups, first starting with the front bumper area. You'll find those tub storage, swivel discharge inside. You'll also find dry deck material at the very base. As we move to the outer edge, mechanical siren, headlight structure, and also turn indicator. Quick look at the grille. You'll find the Pierce logo. Reach behind, you'll find the release mechanism for the hood for your daily checks. Let's take a quick look at the side of the vehicle. This is the driver's side. We'll now start with the cab section. Let's first down at the very bottom section with your lower warning lights. There's one on the bumper extension on the lower section of the cab. As we move up, you'll also find on your drop-down steps perimeter lighting. We move up to the handles. You'll find gloved hands can easily access the door handles, keyed locks. You'll also find lights behind the grab handles for gaining access inside the cab. You'll find a push-button digital access pad, shore power location with an indicator light when plugged in, your unit identifier 30. As we move up to the top, you'll find a cab side-facing scene light. And as we move all the way back to the rear wall near the paramedic logo is where you'll find your LED water tank level indicator. Let's take a look at some close-ups. Once again, digital push-button pad just to the right, shoreline inlet with an indicator light that you're plugged into shore power. As we move just behind the cab, you'll find at the very top section roll-up door, backboard storage, and then also your 2.5-inch discharge. The release mechanism is just down in the lower section. This will allow you to release the speed load to remove that outside of the pumper area to go ahead and load your hose. As we move down to the bottom, you'll find this warning information label, entanglement hazard. Because of those hoses coming from aloft, there is the possibility of entanglement. You also have 2 1.5-inch discharges in the lower section and the release mechanism for the speed lay. Let's move down to the notch area where you'll find 2 2.5-inch ball valve discharges with gauges. As we move just to the right, you'll find this warning label regarding pressure hazard. Caps may be under pressure. Be cautious when opening them. And then as we move to the right, behind the Pierce logo, American flag eagle, large diameter pump intake. Moving just to the right, this is your air inlet. And then just beneath that, you'll find a warning label here that you should not ride on the side of the vehicle while it's in motion. As we move down, you'll find all of our color-coded and labeled discharge drains. And then just to the right, you'll find a 2.5-inch ball valve. This is your driver's side auxiliary inlet. Let's take a quick look at the pump panel area. We'll start at the very top section of the pump panel. First, when you've engaged your pump from the cab, this light should be illuminating, indicating pump engaged. As we move down, you'll find an audible speaker. That speaker face does have a volume control embedded inside. You can see where the arrow is located. As we move to the right into the gray area, you'll find your master intake gauge on the left, and then just to the right, you'll find the master discharge gauge. Between the two of those are the test gauge ports for vacuum and pressure, and they are currently plugged and are used for testing purposes. Moving to the upper right hand side, you'll find your PCM fault indicator. We have a visual indicator and also an audible indicator. As you move down to the audible indicator, the outer edge of that bezel does allow you to brighten or dampen the sound. Let's move downward on the pump panel where you'll find your front discharge number 1, number 2, and the 2.5-inch discharge control valve. Moving to the right, you'll find your intercom system for the latter, volume control, and push to talk. Just beneath that, you'll find a cord rewind. This is going to be a 20 amp 200-foot electrical cord. In the upper right hand corner, this is your pressure throttle governor, and it does have a water tank level indicator embedded in it. As we move to the left, you'll find your tank fill and tank to pump. Moving just to the right, you'll find a twist recirculating line. This is not a pull. And then just to the right, you'll find your pull to prime. We do have a caution indicator here just beneath 1,000 RPMs for best practices. As we move to the right, you'll find your aerial discharge. In the wheel of that, you'll find a percentage open to close 12-to-1 ratio. As we move down, you'll find 2 electric valves. These are on the passenger side, open and close. And then to the right, you'll find your minimum operation maintenance schedule. We'll go over that next. Let's first start with the center section. These are the test pressures for 150, 200, and 250 psi. On the left-hand side, we'll find the associated GPM at test pressure, and on the right, you'll find the associated RPM at test pressure. We do have a 5-digit job number in the upper portion. Let's move downward on the pump panel. We'll first start on the left-hand side. This is your intake relief valve. There are instructions on this for its device activation. As we move to the right, you'll find your primer drain. That is a twist. And then just to the right, you'll find this danger information. This ladder is not insulated, and there's the possibility of electrical shock. Moving just to the right, you'll find a pan door. We'll go over that in a moment, but I would like to point out a warning label here down in the lower left. Only trained personnel should operate this piece of equipment, and only after they received proper training. Down the lower section, all our color-coded discharge drains. Let's go back to that pan door first. As we look inside the pan door, you'll find a protected switch. This is going to be your manual pump shift override, and it does have an indicator when it has been engaged. Let's move to the forward vertical surface where you'll find your lights and also tracking lights, in addition with an air horn, which is a red switch. Let's take a look at the side of the body. First, starting at the upper portion with 2 side-facing scene lights. They are adjustable. In the very center, just over the pump panel area, you'll find your cord rewind location. And then as we move downward, you'll find a pull-out step at the pump panel area. Just to the right of that location, you'll find 2 folding wheel chocks. As we move just to the right of this image, you'll find in the very center your stabilizer. And then all the way to the very back, we'll find the stabilizer pad. Let's go ahead and take a look with the compartment doors in the open position. We'll identify a few items within these areas. Let's first start with the compartment just rear of the pump panel. At the very top, you'll find your G1, which stands for generated power. It's a continuous supply. We do have also a warning label on it regarding electrocution hazard. And then as we move to the upper left-hand side on the vertical wall is where you'll find the control module for that Harrison generator. As we move just to the right of the vertical wall or divider, you'll find your air compressor. This will maintain brake pressure when plugged into shore power. As we move further to the right, you'll find your stabilizer. This is a warning light on the stabilizer extension. You'll also find some warning and also danger placards located here. Because of that movement of that stabilizer is the possibility of crush. As we move to the right, you'll find a danger placard regarding electrocution. The ladder itself is not insulated, and therefore it's the possibility, if you come in contact, there is the possibility of electrocution. As we move to the wheel area, you'll find just in front of the axle your fill location for your DEF tank. It is a 4.5 US gallon blue cap. As we move also to the rear of the axle, you'll find SCBA bottle storage and also the fill location for your ultra low sulfur diesel And then just beneath that, you'll find an electrical connection plug for your generated power. Moving further to the rear, we'll identify a few items within this compartment: adjustable shelf, LED lighting, and also dry deck material. As we move just to the right, you'll find the ladder, which will gain access to the pedestal area. At the very rear of the apparatus, you'll find perimeter lighting. On the outer edges, you'll find clearance lights located on rubber arms. Just inside of that location, you'll find your tail light structure housing a brake, turn, and reverse light. Just inside of that location, you'll find two lower rear warning emergency warning lights. As we move upward from this location, it's where you'll find your upper emergency warning lights. And then further up, you'll find your rear-facing scene lights. At the very top section is where you'll find your 360-degree emergency warning lights. And then you'll also find two cupped switches on the left-hand side. One will control the hose bed lights and the other the rear scene lights. Let's take a look with the compartments in the open position. We'll identify first, starting on the left-hand side of the image, with the ladder storage location and long tool-handled storage. There are the two cupped switches that we talked about. Just up from that location, we have a danger placard once again regarding electrocution hazard. As we move just inside of this location at the very top, you'll find an entanglement hazard warning label. Because of the hoses coming from the hose bed area, there is the possibility of entanglement, and then also your ladder storage and long tool handled storage. As we move to the two pan doors in the rear, this is on the driver's side, you'll find a diagnostic interface location. You'll also find a protected override switch. Just to the right, you'll find emergency hydraulic power switch, which is a momentary switch. And then to the right, you'll find a level assist. Moving downward, you'll find the stabilizer for the driver's side control. There is an in-out and then also an up-down. Two green indicators are required here. As we move further down, you'll find the rear stabilizer control. It is a single downward position. Once again, green light indicating that you have properly set the stabilizer. You will find this information placard regarding aerial stabilizer hazard before operating the aerial device. Make sure you're set up on firm ground and use your stabilizer pads. As we move to the rear section, you'll also find two protruding attachment points. Those are some warning labels regarding direct pull for those attachment points. As we move to the lower pan door, I'd like to point out that the placard on the lower section of the door does match the indicator knobs for the individual valves controlled. For example, we have blue and green indicating up or down or in or out. In the very center, you'll find your function selector switch. It's actually on the upper right-hand corner. And then you'll find in the gray area all of our overrides for our aerial device. We do have two warnings here regarding danger because of this being hydraulic hoses in this area. And then also we have warning regarding tip over for not short jacking your vehicle. Let's move upward, identify a few items within this area. First, we'll start on the left-hand side. The American flag Pierce Eagle is your large diameter aerial inlet. To the right, you'll find a right to left inclinometer. And then further down in the lower section, once again, those warning pressure hazard and then also crush. Inside or behind the pan door area is where you're going to find your 1.5-inch ball valve for your aerial drain. As we move to the rear, once again, because of those hoses coming from aloft, there is the possibility of entanglement. That's why we have that warning label, and then also ground ladders located on the right-hand side. As we move down the controls here, we have a push button stop emergency, and then also we have an override protected switch. Just inside of that location is where you'll find your emergency power overrides. You'll also find on the right a level assist, and then as we move down, same thing as the driver's side, you're going to find passenger side stabilizer control both in and outward and up and down. Also, you'll find your rear stabilizer control, which is a single downward motion. All green indicators required for unbedding your aerial device. As we move up to the aerial device, let's start first with the pedestal. Starting on the left-hand side in the front, you'll find your intercom system. There is a push-to-talk and also volume control on the lower portion of that module. As we move to the control panel, you'll find a emergency stop. This is a push button. As we move downward, you'll find all of our switches for ladder illumination, DC lights, and AC lights.
You'll also find a protected switch here. Once again, this is your remote aerial control activation, giving tip control to the person at the tip. You'll also find aerial speed for normal and fast, and then also an emergency hydraulic power. In the upper right is your Pierce command zone. Tremendous amount of information in this display. Please see your owner's manual for more in-depth review of this item. As we move down to the left-hand side, you'll find your nozzle control. We'll go over that next. First, starting in the upper left, this is your stow and an indicator light indicating your nozzle has been stowed. Just beneath that, you'll find the stream or fog setting, lower and raise, right and left. To the right, you'll find ladder control for extend, retract, right and left, lower and raise. As we move to the cover section, you'll find the specifications for setup for NFPA 1911 and also testing placard. And to the right, you'll find the ascendant information for your 107 waterway dry, 35-mile-an-hour wind conditions, and the chart for that. You'll also find waterway charged, 35-mile-an-hour wind conditions, and the chart for that information. You'll also find nozzle monitor positions, and down at the very bottom, you'll find asterisk information regarding the capabilities, for example, an asterisk regarding icing conditions. Further to the right, you'll find on this same placard all of our safety and warning information. As we look at the base of the ladder, you'll find LED lights lighting the perimeter of the pedestal, and then also a storage location at the base of the ladder. Let's move from this location to the axle ladder itself. This is a 4-section ladder. As you can see on the outer edge, you'll find a 14-foot and a 16-foot straight roof ladder. On the left, you'll find your reel for your electrical cord, as it is on the right-hand side for your electrical cord reel. General view here of the tip. Let's focus now in on some of the control functions. On the left-hand side, we're going to start first with your aerial ladder controls at the tip. As we move downward, we have some warning and danger information placards. What I'd like to point out now is the ability to have your nozzle positioned at a lower position than the tip. That is going to be this. You can see currently it is at the tip. As we rotate this on the right-hand side, it will latch into position for a nozzle position lower than the tip area. Please see your owner's manual for this operation. To the right, you'll find nozzle control. On the right-hand side, you'll also find your intercom system. We do have volume control. It is passive. To the right, you'll also find an outlet regarding generated power at the tip of the aerial ladder. Let's take a look under the ladder area where you'll find hose bed storage, and also at the very front in the dunnage is the fill location for your water tank top fill. You'll also find 2 electrical cord reels. Located directly in the center is where you'll find your generator. Let's move now forward to this location to the cab. We do have a few warning labels here. This is a non-walking surface, and that's why we have these 2 warning labels here regarding fall hazard. Let's take a look at the passenger side of the vehicle. We'll start now with the front cab area. Same configuration and layout as we have on the driver's side. Let's go ahead and focus in on the notch area of the pump panel area. First, in the upper corner, we have 2 switches here. These are going to be for your lights. As we move downward, we have a warning label here regarding fall hazard. If you're climbing on the vehicle, you should always face it. You'll also find your large diameter pump intake on the passenger side, Pierce logo, American flag, eagle. And to the right, you'll find a warning regarding pressure hazard that caps may be under pressure. Be cautious when opening them. To the right, these are controlled via your electric valves. Therefore, there is an override located just below and to the lower left. Same thing with the large diameter electric valve with an override. The very top section is the 2.5-inch discharge. As we move down to the left, this is your passenger side auxiliary inlet. It is a female coupling, and at the very bottom section, you'll find all of our color-coded and labeled discharge drains. Quick image here of the side of the vehicle. I'd like to point out at the exhaust area, we do have a warning label here regarding extremely hot diesel exhaust temperatures. Be cautious where you park your vehicle, especially during regen operations. Let's move now to the very rear section where you'll find your fold-down ladder on the left. Also, you'll find adjustable shelving, LED lighting, and dry deck throughout the compartments. As we move directly over the axle, you'll find a tool board. D-handle will gain access once it is open. On the hinge side, there is a lock release mechanism. As we move downward, you'll also find you have two fill locations, passenger side and also driver's side. Just beneath that, you'll find a outlet for your generated power. Let's take a look at that compartment with the toolboard in the open position. This is the lock release mechanism. As we move downward, your ultra low sulfur diesel, it is the silver cap. Moving forward of this location, we'll identify a few things around the wheel area. First, in front of the wheel area axle, you'll find SCBA bottle storage location. As we move forward to this location, you'll find two compartments, one housing adjustable shelving and also a light box. As we move to the forward compartment, adjustable shelving, and then two additional items I'd like to point out at the very top section, 12-volt access via barrel style, and then just beneath that is your push button for your electrical cord reel. Close-up of those items, this is your 12-volt barrel style. Just beneath that, once again, 200-foot, 20-amp electrical cord reel. This is the rewind button for that. As we move to the body in the very front section, you'll find exactly identical mirrors the opposite side, 2.5 inch on the top, 2.5 inch discharges on the bottom section. Let's move to the cab area. On the driver's area, affixed to the door panel, you'll find all of our safety and warning information. You'll also find on the right ankle of the operator additional safety and health warning information. I'd like to point out the two yellow placards. This information on the yellow placards is manufactured by Pierce for your department regarding your apparatus specifications. On this placard, you'll find the date of manufacture, the 5-digit job number, gross vehicle weight rating, cold tire inflation, the VIN number, the fluid capacities for the component, fluid capacity, and fluid types. As we move down to the seat area, just beneath the operator seat, you'll find when plugged into shore power, this will be active, indicating your shore power battery level. You'll also find at the floorboard a foot pedal for your mechanical siren. As we move up to about the left knee of the operator, we'll identify this panel, and at the very top section, you'll find your master battery switch. Let's take a quick look. Lower section, mechanical siren, foot pedal. As we move now to about the left knee of the operator, you'll find this panel. First, this is for your maintenance team and also diagnostic information and DPF regen. In the upper corner, tech module plug-in, engine, transmission, ABS diagnostic port, and display port. And then the switch panels for those below. Regen inhibit and DPF regen switches on the lower section. As we move to the driver's area dash, you'll find on the left your 4-way flashers or hazard lights, and then also start and ignition switch. Just inside of that location, you'll find a switch labeled EM, which stands for Emergency Master, engage, disengage all emergency lights with one switch. To the right, headlight switch and panel switch, brighten or dim lights within preview of the operator. To the right, you'll find your high idle indicator and high idle switch. On the left, you'll find your transmission oil, DEF level, and water temp. On the right, you'll find your rear and front air, fuel level, volts. In the center, tachometer and speedometer. Diagnostic information displays above and below the tachometer and speedometer. Let's move just to the driver's right. We'll identify a few items within this area. First, the yellow diamond is your pull to apply your system parking brake and push to release. To the right, your Pierce command zone, tremendous amount of information accessible with a gloved hand or touchscreen. To the right, you'll find your Allison transmission pad, informational note, pump in neutral. We'll go over these two switch panels when we have a close-up. We have memory switches and rocker switches. And then to the right, you'll find your passenger side and driver side mirror control. Just beneath that, you'll find your traffic advisor control. And then beneath that, you'll find your pump operations, an indicator for stationary pumping, and then also your water pump switch. Some safety and warning information just beneath that. At the very top section, you'll find your climate control and then a placard regarding your generator and how to operate. First, let's start with the Allison transmission pad, digital readout. We do have a pump in neutral placard here. As we move to the right, you'll find your aerial master, aerial generator PTO, generator on and off, tip tracking lights, electronic siren, fuel primer, and load manager. Engine brake, settings for low, medium, and high, front wheel lock, push to talk, and mirror heat. As we move upward from this location, these are going to be the mirror controls for the left and right, just a close-up of those. And then as we move to the water pump area, you'll find stationary OK to pump and roll. This is an indicator and your water pump switch. Climate control for air conditioning, heat, and defrost. As we move overhead of the operator, you'll find this placard indicating the height 11 feet 8.5 inches, length 39 feet 5 inches, and a gross vehicle weight rating 57,500 pounds. You'll also find in the center a do not move your apparatus indicator light flashing if you have a compartment door open or ajar, and then also seatbelt information placard, which we'll go over that in the next set of images. Let's start with the first placard with the emergency master, roof light, front warning, side warning, lower rear warning, upper rear warning, high beam flash, and your opticom. When any of these switches have been activated, the outer edge of the bezel will illuminate. Let's move just to the right of this location. We're going to find our air horn, siren brake, driver's side cab and passenger side cab scene lights, front flood, rear scene, driver's side and passenger side body scene lights. Once again, when active, the outer edge of the bezel will change color and illuminate. As we move to the right, you'll find your wheel-in control module for your electronic siren and PA speaker system. You'll also find an AM/FM weather band radio. Moving more toward the center of the apparatus, you'll find your air conditioning vents and also all of your David Clark headset system. Let's move to the rear of the cab where you'll find affixed to the door panel all of our safety and warning information. Red grab handle will gain access. There are 3 seats across the back. Center seat is fixed. The 2 outer seats are fold down style. Push on and off white or red lens lights overhead. In the very center, you'll find a net section here for storage location. And on the side of that, you'll find 12-volt barrel style access. As we move to the rear section down at the very bottom, you'll find all of our daily checks for oil and transmission. As we move to the officer side, you'll find your unit radio module. Moving forward of this location to the officer seat affixed to the door panel, we'll find all of our safety and warning information. You'll also find this vehicle is equipped with an airbag supplemental restraint system. That is the black indicator here on the right-hand side indicating SRS. Do not mount or affix anything within this area. As we move to the left of the officer seat, you'll find the radio push-to-talk button. You'll also find throughout the cab these warning labels with the red candy cane striped label. This is indicating that you have a wire behind it, which is a spare, and its location and information on it. As we move just to the left of the officer seat, you'll find 12-volt access via barrel style and USB, and then also our vehicle data recorder. As we look overhead, you'll find your seatbelt information, red indicating someone is in the seat and not belted, green indicating they're in the seat and belted. You'll also find a digital readout for the pump pressure, and then also a tank vision water tank level indicator. As we move further to the right over the officer space, you'll find this switch panel housing the air horn, siren brake, and all of our scene lights. As we move further right, you'll find your unit radio. Congratulations, Clark County, Nevada, on your new Pierce Fire apparatus, job number 34783. If you have any questions regarding your apparatus, please contact your Hughes Fire sales representative. Thank you and congratulations.